how places and people shape us. That is going to be the topic of this episode of Chi Life. Alright, so I am in Da Nang, Vietnam, and it is just right about sunrise here on the beach. And yeah, I'm going to talk about a little bit about my experience here in Da Nang. Now, my intention is not to give a complete travel guide or anything like that. I'm not trying to turn this this channel into a travel vlog channel. Generally the videos will always talk about something that relates to our energy. And the topic today is how the places we spend our time and the people we spend our time around then shapes us, affects our energy, and affects us. Well, our energy affects everything, so it affects us in lots of ways, but definitely our energy. And so I'll talk about some experiences specifically relating to that. Now, while I do this, I will show just some footage of being in Da Nang, just some little video clips I took, not all necessarily to do with the topic, but to give you something to look at other than my face while I talk about this topic. The waves are pretty loud actually here. We've got the beach right here, but hopefully not too loud. Hopefully you can hear me okay on the audio of this. So one thing I noticed that was really interesting when I first arrived in Da Nang, and I've talked about this sort of thing before, I think in some of the other vlogs, but this was just another example of it. And I've certainly talked about, examples of this sometimes in some of the Qigong courses, with some of the students, like how the energy of different places affects us. But there was an interesting one specifically when I first arrived in Da Nang. So prior to coming to Da Nang in Vietnam, I'd been in Bali, and then I'd been in Taipei briefly. I arrived in Da Nang, and just as I was out on the street and coming to my hotel, I just had this feeling like, I feel like I'd like to go running here. It just felt like that was the, something that made me feel that way. Now, what could it be that gave me, because it was quite a strong sense, hey, I would like to go running. This feels like somewhere to go running. What was it that gave me that feeling? It could be, probably is, several things. So for one thing, Da Nang has some nice open spaces. So this is both the beach, nice wide open beach that people can exercise on. It also on the streets. The streets are quite wide. They have footpaths next to them with plenty of space. They're not too crowded. There's not too much traffic on the streets. Could be that. There's just more open space. More inclined to, move quickly running in a space like that. Now that's something that was quite different from Bali, I found, because Bali, so many places in Bali, the roads are not very good, lots of traffic, too crowded on the footpath. You couldn't really run if you wanted to a lot of those places, or not without creating a bit of a disturbance. It just wasn't suitable. Difficult to find somewhere to go running. On the other hand though, in Taipei, even though it has massive population density, very densely populated city, still had plenty of open spaces, lots of open spaces, parks, streets. The traffic, while it did have traffic, not so busy that you couldn't run alongside the roads if you wanted to. But I didn't get that same feeling that, hey, I want to run in Taipei. And I also did not see many other people running. It wasn't something I saw much of at all. So, but arriving in Da Nang, I felt like running. Okay, open spaces could be part of it, but clearly isn't all of it, because there were open spaces in Taipei. That didn't make me feel like running. Maybe something else. Maybe the air quality. That's something that's a bit different from Taipei. I wouldn't say the air quality is super terrible in Taipei, not bad like it is in some parts of the world, and certainly in parts of mainland China and other parts of the world too. But it wasn't fantastic either. So open spaces, yes, but not such great air quality. That could be a reason why Taipei didn't give me the urge to go running. But Da Nang, air quality's not bad. Not perfect, I'd say. Yeah, maybe a little bit of pollution. But it's right by the ocean, and there's quite a bit of breeze that comes in from the ocean. Air quality's not bad here. So yeah, maybe the combination, open spaces and reasonable air quality, that could be it as well. But I think there's something more to it than that. And I didn't know this at the time when I first arrived, and I hadn't really explored to see how good the open spaces are either yet. I'd just arrived. It was more of just a feeling. And one of the things that I've discovered since being here is that other people run here. The locals, particularly, and expats and travelers as well, like to get out and exercise. It's a thing that people do here. In fact, I think it was the second day that I was here, there was some kind of big street race going on. I don't know if it was a marathon or some other kind of running race. But they'd closed some of the streets in the area near where I was staying, and so that they could have this running race. And particularly at this time of the morning, where I am now, sort of before sunset before sunrise or at sunrise, and then again later in the day, lots of people come out, particularly to the beach, but also the streets around the beach, and they exercise. I'll have some footage of, some people doing some exercise here, but, some people walking, some people running, some people swimming, some people doing other exercise together. It's something that they do here. And that contributes to the energy of a place. So the physical features are a significant thing. And in this case, in Da Nang, open spaces, reasonably good air quality, that's a big part of it. But then the energy of other people also contribute to how we feel and what we're inclined to do. And it shapes us in sometimes quite subtle ways. And again, on some of the courses, I sometimes talk about some of these subtle ways. But for now, this example of feeling like running, I think is a good one. The places we spend our time and the people we spend our time around really do shape us in quite significant ways. How they shape us is not necessarily a given, because you can put two different people in the same place around the same people, and they will find themselves doing quite different things. And that's because we are individuals, and we choose to a large extent how we allow our environment to shape us. But it is still an important thing. One of the things I found interesting while being here in Da Nang is the opportunity, I suppose you could say, I've had to encounter people who fit different stereotypes of the sort of person that you might expect to find traveling or living in Southeast Asia. Now, these are stereotypes that, I've heard of before, I'm familiar with, but in my travels, places I've spent time, I haven't really spent time around this kind of person. And here, some of the things I've been doing, I have encountered these people, and it's been interesting. And there's people here in Da Nang and other parts of Southeast Asia who are here for different reasons. Some people are just here and just for a holiday. That's great, they're having a bit of fun. Other people are exploring culture and learning things about that. Fantastic. Other people are here because it's relatively cheap to live here. And they use that as a way to fuel their productivity. They use it to come here, be productive, work on things, get things done, and it's a good environment for them to do that. And then there are other people who are here for other reasons, a variety of other reasons. And a significant number who essentially are, you could say, maybe running away from life. And somewhere here, and not just Da Nang, other parts of Southeast Asia, it's kind of somewhere for them to hide from their life and just get away from it. And again, because the cost of living is relatively cheap, they can do that without having to face the regular pressures of taking responsibility for things and getting on with things that they might have to elsewhere. And I've met a range of these different characters. People being very productive, people just enjoying their time. And people who have taken this environment, which could support them in very positive ways, because I've met people who are using this environment to support them in positive ways, support them in improving their physical health, improving their mental health, things like that. But then other people who really are allowing this environment to support them into sliding into degeneracy. And it's been interesting to encounter that. And I think it's worth mentioning that because it's not all about the places. It's not all about the people, because we can have the same environment and it lead to very different outcomes depending on us. But certainly some environments are going to be more supportive of the things that we want to do than other environments. And yeah, I just thought this was an interesting example of that, and particularly that urge, this feels like somewhere I'd like to run, without knowing how extensively people do like to exercise here. It was an interesting little this is the energy of the place. Now, I mean, this is relevant as a topic in terms of just understanding and thinking about some of the spaces maybe that you find yourself in, and the people you find yourself around, and how they are shaping you. Or it's not necessarily always shaping. There is an element of shaping, at the very least supporting you or not supporting you in the things that you want to do, the way that you're wanting to live your life, maybe the things that you're wanting to achieve. Quite relevant for me as well, particularly in terms of what I'm doing with my travel here at the moment. As I travel, I am teaching some workshops, different places. I'm running at least one retreat, possibly more, working on organizing that at the moment. So I have that happening. I'm still working online, teaching the Qigong courses and so on. So I'm being quite productive in many ways. And then one of the other things that I'm doing is specifically, I'm looking for places for running more retreats and trainings in the future, ones that people can do in person rather than online. And so I'm looking for places that are going to be good for this, that are going to be really supportive for this, for people there. Because we can, of course, always do our best, bring our Qigong practice into the space where we are, and make the most of that. But at the same time, being in an environment that is maybe more supportive of us in our practice is going to make it easier for us to make progress and take things on as well. And so I'm looking for places that I think are going to work really well for retreats and trainings and so on, to support people in their practice in the future as I organize more of those. So I can see the appeal of Da Nang. It's just been a short visit here. I'm just going to turn the camera around. It's an interesting mix here. You can see some interesting buildings in the background. We've got the beach over there. We've got some green areas, quite accessible. And even just flying in, as I was flying into Da Nang, I looked out the window. I had a window seat, and I could see the way the city was laid out, and that there were open spaces, and that there were trees planted amongst the buildings. Let's see over here, you can see some of the trees. This is right by the beach, but even further into town, there's trees in amongst the places. I like a lot of what I'm seeing here. This is cool. And so I can see the appeal from a physical environment with the beach and so on. There is a culture here of people being active, food and all that sort of thing. Not necessarily sure it's quite the right balance for me and what I want to do, and the retreats and things I want to run and so on. But it's been interesting. I can certainly see the appeal and how it can be a really positive environment for some people, and could be a place that I revisit in the future. I'm not sure at this stage. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the vlog. Maybe there's something interesting, something useful for you in it. If you have, please like, comment, subscribe, share, all those good things. And I look forward to seeing you in another one soon.